This computer. And thanks, Swati. So coming back to day number 7, 25th of May, and we're speaking about an interesting question which my friend Kuldeep says. He says that there were some 10 user stories in a given sprint, and only 8 were completed. Two of them remain as a now I call it as a backlog because that's the English meaning, Kuldeep. Backlog ka meaning in agile is not uh, you know are you getting this? Backlog means not the deficit. Backlog is product backlog and sprint backlog, which is like a workload. But anyway, so here in English terms, it's a backlog. Two user stories which were not delivered at the end of it. This type of thing, Kuldeep, is called as a technical date, sometimes called as. And now what you need to do with that is a question. The most important thing, and what they say very clearly is that technical date should not be pushed into next sprint thing. Possibility number one, correct, Kuldeep? Ki go ahead and add it into next sprint backlog. That is not encouraged. Correct, Kuldeep?
हाँ वो तो प्रायोरिटी के हिसाब से होगा ना सर.
Second possibility, and these are the options, by the way, Kuldeep. वो question में आएंगे.
अच्छा
First
अच्छा
option
हाँ
will say that add it to the next sprint backlog. तो उसको ना बोलना. Don't say that. Second option, in most of the situation, they will give extend the sprint. That option is
वो
also wrong.
हाँ wrong.
This
Definitely.
method is called as time box method. So changing the sprint length on fly just based on the actual progress is not allowed.
Correct.
And particularly, Kuldeep, these days it's not only the scrum, it is scrum of scrums. Multiple teams are actually going ahead and doing it there. So if your team goes ahead and postpones it, the whole cycle, the whole rhythm will get collapsed. So you cannot extend the sprint. That is not the right option. The option is that give that back to the product owner and let him decide the priority. It is quite possible, Kuldeep, because you have told that we have already done the grooming for this, we have already done some part of it. He might add it into your next sprint backlog, which is okay. But
जो
your
प्रोडक्ट
team
ऑनर
members
के
will
बाद
not.
वो ग्रूमिंग करेगा उसका तब वो
ग्रूमिंग
डालेगा.
तो हो चुका होगा,
ग्रूमिंग
कुलदीप,
हो चुका है ना, ग्रूमिंग हो चुका है.
बिकॉज एक बार ले लिया था
या
आपने उसको.
हाँ
करेक्ट.
राइट. अच्छा वो उसको रीप्रायोरिटाइज करके वो अपने हिसाब से उसको डालेगा.
मोस्ट ऑफ द सिचुएशन वो प्रायोरिटी कुछ इमीडिएटली तो चेंज नहीं होगा अनलेस समथिंग मोर बर्निंग हैज कम. So mostly he will add it into the next sprint backlog, Kuldeep.
But
Correct?
that's not the ideal way to get put into.
You don't do it. What I mean is that the
आप
team should not do it. Let product owner do it.
Right.
ये-
But sprint backlog is maintained by developer.
Sprint backlog is given by the product owner and maintained by the developer. Correct, Raj? Absolutely correct. So prioritization, Raj, is not your it's
that
not your
is
cup of tea.
product
That
owner's
is product
task.
owner's
Yeah,
priority.
that's
It is
what
his job.
similarly I used to do. I mean, I used to call it spilled over items.
Correct.
And
Yes.
those items, first of all, those items are prioritized and refined properly. But yes,
Nice.
of course, we need to discuss with product owner. Product owner will decide whether the items will be continuing the highest priority and can move into next sprint, or else there is something else coming in between and can go down. But
Exactly.
yeah, that decision will be with product owner. And
Right.
and obviously for the team, it is a learning basically. In retro, you have to discuss why you failed to, deliver those items.
Yes. So welcome, Pawan. Welcome, Maria.
सर एक क्वेश्चन और था रिलेटेड.
Yes.
ये ग्रूमिंग वाला जो एक्सरसाइज है कॉन्टिन्यूसली चलता रहता है.
हाँ,
Right.
I mean, at least it will be at the, during the sprint planning meeting.
हाँ स्प्रिंट प्लानिंग मीटिंग ना.
The
वो
reason
डेली
is that that's the handover from the domain expert to the technical expert. And when you are handing over from the domain expert to the technical expert, grooming is required.
तो वो तो फिर वो एवरी स्प्रिंट से पहले रहेगा.
Exactly. Whenever that handover happens, that will be there. That's how it will be there. Okay. So I said, welcome, Pawan. Pawan, am I audible?
Yes,
Welcome,
yes,
Maria.
Sanjay,
Yes.
you're audible.
Pawan is not speaking. So
Hi,
Hi, Maria.
hi.
Sorry, Sanjay. Yeah.
Oh, yes. So, Pawan, I was asking, how is the climate in Hyderabad?
It was good, Sanjay, from yesterday.
Is it raining?
Yes, it is raining.
So, when are we meeting?
Maybe on Tuesday, Thursday, or Friday. Like 28th,
No
we'll be here,
problem.
right?
So let's, plan it. Once I come there and land there, we'll speak. And
Sure.
so, friends, you would have noticed that 31st of May in this calendar, you can see no session. And
Hmm.
that's the day we are going to have paradise biryani with Pawan. So that's the reason for which. So everyone else is welcome if you want to join.
Hmm.
Uh,
बहुत सारे पैराडाइज है ना, ऑथेंटिक वाले पे जाना।
I know.
वैसे
Now that,
आगरा में सर एक चलता है पंछी पेठा, बहुत
correct.
मशहूर है। तो वो
हाँ,
पंछी पेठा, वो सब दुकानें पंछी पेठा के नाम से हो गई है, तो वैसे
एग्जैक्टली।
पैराडाइज वैसे ही लग रहा है मुझे आपकी बात सुन के।
Here, I have the host, isn't it? I have the host Pawan, so he will take care of that.
हाँ।
So yes, Pawan, hopefully you will take care of that.
Yes, yes. No worries.
Never mind. See, I am going for, some training program there. So it's possible that, I might get an opportunity to, spend some time together with Pawan there. And that's where 31st is, kept as a blank there. Um,
Sure, Sanjay.
Maria,
Worries.
is it raining in Mumbai?
Yes, it's crappy weather.
And Mumbai rain, So in Marathi, I don't know how much you understand, Maria. Maria, is that Mumbaiचा पाऊस छान असतो, which means, you know that?
Very good.
गुड नहीं, डेंजरस है वो, अचानक से रोड क्रॉस करते करते भीग
एकदम चालू
जाते
हो
हो
जाता है वो। I mean,
Mhm.
शिशिर उसका भी मजा है, उसका एक मजा
मजा
है,
है।
वो आपको और कहीं नहीं मिलेगा। तो मुंबई का
Yeah,
पाऊस भी
यस।
इज फन। सो Maria, you
continuous
understood what
rain.
we spoke? I'm sure you would understand. It's true.
No.
I was
छान असतं
saying,
मग very good.
Mumbai rains are, are really interesting, isn't it?
यस।
Yeah.
Yeah, So Shishir was telling that, when you started crossing the road, it could be completely, no sign of the rains. By the
Yeah.
time you cross the road, it might, start
Yeah.
the
Lonavala is good
Lonavala is good.
during rainy season.
हाँ, आजकल लोनावला और मुंबई में इक्वल भीड़
Mhm.
रहता है, बाय द वे, राज.
हाँ.
यस यस।
So if
एग्जैक्टली।
Maria, you are in Malad or you are in Lonavala, it will probably the crowd wise it will be same.
Same. Yeah.
Anyway, so now coming back to the topic. So yesterday we, did all that about this scheduling, some concepts there, that scheduling. No, yeah, this we are going to do today. So yesterday was scope, whole of the thing related to the scope. When I am doing this, I always love that thrilling PPT to be in front of me, which is a transpose version of our page 64. Correct, friends? By the way, Shishir, you could get something प्लान ड्रिवन वर्सेस कुछ मिला क्या रे?
हम्म। प्लान ड्रिवन नहीं, मैंने सिर्फ प्लान ड्रिवन देखा था।
ओह ओके, प्लान ड्रिवन में
बस।
बहुत सारा आएगा ना,
हम्म।
अनलेस यू से प्लान ड्रिवन पीएमपी और प्लान ड्रिवन अजाइल, तो इट माइट, बट एनीवे कीप इट देयर. This whole thing was last week development, and here was there. Remember the plan scope management, creating the scope management plan and requirement management plan. These three people together are creating scope baseline, which is part of your final thing called as a project plan. This collect requirement creates the requirement documentation and requirement traceability metrics, two of those output. Define scope creates the scope project scope statement, and create WBS creates scope baseline. Kuldeep, are you there with me?
हाँ सर, वो तीनों मिलके वो जो आउटपुट आता है उसका, उस कॉम्बिनेशन को वो बेसलाइन
That is
बोलते हैं।
called as scope baseline. Okay.
हाँ
But in short, scope baseline itself is a composite output which has project scope statement, which is created by define scope,
हाँ।
WBS, WBS dictionary, and planning packages and all that. So those five things put together is called as scope baseline.
सर वो
Scope
बुक में तो
baseline
तीन
itself
ही
is,
बोलता है,
huh?
बुक में मैंने कल पढ़ा था, वो तीन तीन का ही जिक्र था सर उसमें।
If he is saying three,
हाँ
then it
नहीं,
will be project scope statement, WBS, and WS dictionary. Correct? So those three could be there. So that's okay. So these three: validate scope, dark blue, which necessarily means customer acceptance. Don't blame me for using that name. It is given by the PMI. Even I am equally unhappy with that name. I would have called it as customer acceptance. I would have called it as verify product, validate product. Validate scope काफी अजीब confusing नाम है, but just don't worry. University बोलता है तो let us go with that. They call it as validate scope. And control scope is like all other controlling processes. That we have seen, and we are actually starting here where a lot of thrilling, interesting questions came, and actually I was not able to resist from answering them, and that's where we went little deeper into critical path as well, which we should have learned here. And I told you, define activity, breaking this work package into multiple activities is define activities. Sequence activity, making sequence after one after the other. Estimate duration, there are 4 estimation methods. We'll be learning all of them. And develop schedule is doing the adjustment, friends. Yesterday I was, saying that. And I think Swati, when I asked this question, you said that, how often your calculated end date is acceptable by the sponsor and your customer. And
Yeah.
what is your answer, Swati?
Very rarely.
Very rarely. Mostly no. Because before you do all those calculations, he has his end go live date in mind, correct?
Yeah.
So it is very rarely. Now you need to do something, and doing that something is develop schedule. So that's what is there. Control schedule is like all controlling processes. But amongst the control processes, friends, understand these two people are very important. Control schedule and control cost. Why? Because they are part of the triangle in first place. And more important thing there, they are the two who are creating the forecast. Look at it here. If you click on this, you will realize that it creates schedule forecast. Correct? And this control cost is creating the cost forecast. These are the only two processes which create the forecast. There is nothing called as the quality forecast, resource forecast, nothing. These two are called as the forecast there. Now, why they are important? I don't know if I remember, if I use this example here, that when you do that carpenter or painting work at the home, after 3 days, everyone start asking only two questions. Correct? Yaad hai? Did I say that, Swati?
ये कब तक होगा?
हाँ, कब तक होगा, and how much money I would have shelled out
Yeah.
by the time it gets finished. Because what they say in the initial is estimate. Actuals could be always different. Correct?
Yeah.
So, कब तक होगा is schedule forecast. कितना पैसा लगेगा is cost forecast. So, those two are separate. But anyway, we are going to see the tools and techniques for that. So, let's get going into, the PPT part of it. Yes, Raj, any questions? You are silent, and I need to take care of Raj specifically
No. I'm good. I'm good.
because he is the one who is really burning the midnight oil. Midnight तो हो चुका है ना, Raj? What do you say?
12.
Well, so I need to check with him specifically. So good. Coming back to this is that, and आज एक मराठी sentence सीखना है तेरे को राज, one more. Yesterday you learned one. So we are going to do it when we get time. Okay?
Yeah.
Good. So coming back to objective of schedule management is to timely deliver the project and each milestone. Remember, not only the go live should be on time, all the milestones what you have agreed in between should be done on time so that there is an assurance. Second thing, did you notice that sometimes there are contractual promises for each milestone? What does it mean? There are contractual conditions for milestones. What does it mean?
Deadlines in the contract. I mean,
And they are in contract.
yeah.
तेरा पैसा आएगा शिशिर उससे.
Hmm.
When you complete the design phase, your 20% money will come. Have you came across these type of contracts? Yes, that's
फ्लैट
very
खरीदते
common.
समय था वैसा.
Huh?
फ्लैट खरीदते समय था वैसा.
Exactly. But even in our cases, it is like that, isn't it? Customer doesn't pay you everything right in the beginning. And if customer said that I will pay you everything in the end, you will have a problem. Correct, Shishir?
Yeah.
So there are interim milestones. Now, these milestones related payments, customer would not like to keep it linked only to the timeline. He would like to link it to the deliverable, correct?
Hmm.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that is written, Swati, in the contract itself, correct?
Yeah.
आपको sign off वाला letter देना पड़ता है. When you are sending that invoice to the finance department of the customer, you need to send that sign off letter saying that kisi, your man has accepted my design, so abhi sir 20% release kar do. Correct?
Yeah.
Very common. And that's what I'm trying to say. Each milestone is also important, not only the final goal I did. And these are the processes. I spoke about it in length there on that slide itself. So now coming back to certain concept. Project schedule is a detailed plan to show delivery timeline of the deliverables. This is used to communicate with the stakeholder and manage their expectations correct. Very important part of it is that, there are expectations there. So one of the use of the plan is to set the expectations. The plan, when it is seen, eventually people sometimes get panic about the thing in between, because they are trying to very often, friends, I mean, just because you are going to face this particular example related to plan and expectations, is that very often I say that when you are actually going to give the final exam, the PMP exam, don't try to calculate your run rate in the first 10 questions. I say that you need to calculate it. Do you need to track run rate when you are giving final PMP exam? Any guess? Yes, Raj? Do you think you need to keep track of
I would say
current run
yes.
rate? And क्या है run rate? You know that?
In the time spent on each question,
So how much is that?
70 seconds.
75 seconds, correct. 75
75.
seconds
Okay.
per question. Per question. So now what I am trying to tell Raj is that, at least for first 10 questions, don't try to go ahead and calculate it, because then you might turn panic. Why?
Beginning of the exam. So
Beginning.
login exam.
नहीं, लॉगिन तो इसमें नहीं जाएगा. आफ्टर
Okay.
यू स्टार्ट के बाद ही टाइम काउंटडाउन चालू होगा. सो दैट्स नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम,
Yes.
राज. बट योर स्पीड ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग, योर getting familiar with the thing takes its own some time. So first 10 questions you will take little time, then down the line you'll pick up the speed. This is very common thing, isn't it? Correct, Raj?
Yeah, correct.
Is Pimbok open at your end?
Yes.
Can you do Control F
Mm-hmm.
and see learning curve? Learning curve. And try to say where does it stop. And that is the answer that will give you an answer about what I am saying, friends. While Raj is still trying to reach that particular line, it will give the description of it, and that description says that why you should not check your run rate at the end of 10 questions. Doing so after maybe 20 questions, 30 questions is more logical and sensible. So Raj, did it came there in Pimbok?
Yeah, I see in it on 236 page number, but there is no specific
और
definition.
एक
It's
रहेगा.
part of
Next one.
number of resources.
नहीं, go to the next
Nothing.
one.
I only see one match.
Oh, it's only one match called as the learning curve. That's very funny.
I
फिर
can also see one.
only one match. Okay. अब पूछो फिर गाइड को आपका चैट जीपीटी. फटाक से कर Raj, and see the text and read it loudly for benefit of all of us. So we will wait for Raj to come back with that. It's in the part of the
Learning
this
curve.
Yes. What's that? It's a
No,
human
what
theory.
should be my input? Like
Learning
learning
curve.
curve.
Learning curve.
Just learning
say.
curve.
It will tell you.
PMP.
Maybe definition of learning curve, whatever.
Okay.
ये अजीब चीज है, Raj. Did you notice they have only mentioned that in one sentence there, but those people might ask you the question on the scenario based on this. So
Okay.
that's
I've
very
got
fun.
some information. Like it says, a learning curve is a graphical representation of how someone improves at a task over time with experience or practice.
Yes. So that's it.
No, I do have more. Like it shows the relationship between learning effort and performance or proficiency. And there are some key concepts under this. Like it says steep learning curve, which is with the common use and technical meaning, and shallow learning curve is the other concept.
Time and productivity.
Yeah.
This is the learning curve. What they are trying to say is that in the beginning, you will take नहीं ऐसा आएगा कि ऐसा आएगा. I'm not very sure. If productivity is here, then it will come like that. This is productivity. If you look at the output, then probably no, output also I see. Yeah. So I think I made a mistake. So let me write here. So output or productivity versus time. The graph is like this. We say that in the beginning, your output and productivity will not gain with the time. It will gain with the time. After that, you pick up the speed and it becomes faster. In fact, ऐसा नहीं होता है वो. Finally, it boils down and gets settled. At some time, it gets settled. Correct, friends? Yes. So first 10 questions you will not be able to solve in 750 seconds. You might end up taking probably 1,000 seconds to do so. But then you will pick up the speed. Correct? Yes.
Yes.
So
750
that's all.
seconds.
Because 10 questions, 75
Okay,
each.
10.
10 into 75. So I said 750. Correct, Raj? Barabar? So that's what they are, trying to say. We'll try to see some questions, during the recap part of it. So here is you need to communicate, set the expectations, and that's where these expectations, for you to set right expectations, they need to understand the learning curve. So if they say कि यार आधा project हो गया and you have only delivered 20%, it may not be necessarily a bad thing. It may not be a bad thing necessarily. Then there are two ways to do the project. One is CPM, critical path method, and other is agile. Critical path method, I showed it to you. Make the complete sequence and then try to guess what is the end date for each of the tasks and then track it against that. That's the critical path method. Very much for the productive life cycle or the waterfall equivalent. Did my voice broke?
Yes. I was
Okay,
about
let
Yes.
to
me.
say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it now stabilized?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then comes Agile. In Agile, actually, you don't make this long plan and then calculate. So in Agile, you will not even calculate what are you going to do 3 days down the line. You will decide at the start of the thing. The only thing which is decided is that what is the date on which the sprint will get completed and what is the date on which release is there. How much you will deliver there and all that thing is not there. So this whole thing called as a critical path, the project schedule network diagram, dependencies, and all that thing, they are not that critical in Agile. In Agile, they would not do it. In Waterfall, they will do it. So those are two methods. Are you getting why they are saying these two methods of doing the project? One is critical path method, other is Agile. Correct? You got it?
Mm.
And in real life, Shishir, it will be always hybrid. Correct? It will be always hybrid. You will be doing a combination of it. So, you might be doing some of the activities you might decide to do. Some of the deliverables you would like to do it with a critical path. Some of them you will continue to do it in the agile. So, for example, if it is rolling out some new automation there, the hardware network, all that thing you will do using critical path method. While software development and integration and all that thing, you will do it in agile way. So it's always a combination of them. To enter the activity, the critical path method is enter the activity, dependencies, durations, resources, and then come up with project schedule model, or we call it as yesterday as project schedule network diagram. And we try to draw that yesterday. We try to do some calculations as well, even though they were slightly out of sequence. The smaller work package, if it is a very small work package, what he's trying to say is that in a big thing, this process of create WBS and define activities could be separate. But what he is trying to say in this bullet point, he said that for the smaller thing, this all could be done together. You may not go ahead and do these activities separately. This all will be done. Shishir, I'm sure you are using MS Project.
Yes.
In MS Project, I mean, there is summary task, which is like a WBS. Below that, you go ahead and enter the task. In the next step,
Mm.
Shishir goes ahead and puts something called as a predecessor. Then he goes ahead and puts the duration. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Correct.
What are you doing? You are doing it together, correct?
Mm.
But now, if there are 200 tasks there are so many teams. Each of the team member is going to come up with his own estimate, his own dependencies, and all that. In that situation, those processes will have to be done separately, correct? Yes, Shishir? That's
Yes.
what this point is actually referring to. Trends and emerging practices is all about the adaptive planning. Don't try to make a long-term plan. Keep on adapting the requirements and changes into the thing. Adaptive planning. That's what is one of the very common thing, which means, agile is coming in all the things nowadays. That's what they are trying to say. Project team need to appreciate and adapt to iterative scheduling with the backlog. The concept of the backlog there, and on-demand scheduling. This is also called as the pull schedule. It is called as pull schedule against the push. Push schedule is a word which was used for waterfall models. Pull schedule is called as the agile. So what does it mean is that you as a team are going to sit with the product owner and say that what I can do it. It is actually pulling it there. And push schedule is on the other hand waterfall, because someone who does that waterfall will be doing it. Did you notice that in some of the support organizations, I'm sure few of you would have worked into things. There are two type of softwares, friend. Did you notice that the central pool of the backlog, or central tools of the central list of all the calls which are received, there are two ways. One, there is a central guy who assigns it to different agents. The other one is that all will be published there, and the agent who are sitting there will go ahead and pick up this. I will take. Have you seen this type of support arrangement? Yes, did you notice that?
Sanjay,
Yes,
can you
Pawan?
please repeat this one?
So, Pawan, what I'm trying to say is that there are the typically, when there are support type of activities, there are multiple support and multiple agents are there. There are two type of software, Pawan. One of the software, what it does, customer will register the call. The moment it is registered, there is some central agent, Pawan, who will go ahead and say, okay, now Pawan is free, so let me give it to Pawan. The next call comes, he gives it to Kuldeep. The next call, he gives it to Rahul. So he does it. This is one way of doing things. But there is the other way also, Pawan, is that there would be a central website where it will be flashed, and the people who are agents sitting there, they will go ahead and say, "Yeah, I am picking up this. I am picking." The moment he picks it, that call gets assigned to him. Have you heard about that arrangement?
Yes, yes.
It is there.
Yes.
It is very often very effective. Huh? Shishir, are you getting
Yeah,
this?
yeah. We use service now and all, those
Ah.
tools.
So those are ServiceNow, I am sure, would have both the facilities, Shishir, correct? It's a
Yes,
configurable feature.
both, yes.
Both the facilities, but some companies go ahead and this. Are you Pawan, are you now realizing this pull versus push word there?
Yes, yes.
है ना? Uber कैसा होता है रे पवन? Uber
Uber is something like
I
from
believe
the
you're
pull,
pushing
partners,
I
driver
believe
from
pull,
partners.
pulling the
It's a pull.
things, right?
Did you notice
Yeah.
when it flashes, Pawan, everyone who
Right.
is around the Golconda
mm,
fort,
Right.
it
Right.
will be shown onto
They
his
will
screen.
receive
mm,
the notifications.
Whosoever picks up, then it gets locked.
yeah.
Right.
Pull type of thing there. That's what they are doing. Something similar could be done for any service center as well. That's what they are trying to say. So pull schedule is agile. Push schedule is, because in push schedule, the responsibility of the planning is with the project manager. In pull schedule, responsibility of the planning is with the individual team member. And that's what
Developers.
they are trying to say. And that's why it's called as on-demand schedule. Tailoring you can read yourself later, not much, but basically they are saying that that don't try to do schedule management, one shop for all. What do I mean is basically they are trying to say that don't think that um, don't make the scheduling same way for all the project. The scheduling for probably a project which is going to run for 8 days and using a tool like MS Project would be foolish. It will not make a sense. Excel spreadsheet se kaam chal jayega, do it there. That's better. But if it is a huge thing, you'll have to probably have not only MS Project, but multiple installations of MS Project combined together. That's the tailoring. Basically, they are trying to say that, tailoring consideration in all knowledge areas. They are only trying to say that don't try to say that one stop solution for all. It doesn't. Everything is a unique based on the size, based on the complexity, based on the stakeholder, based on the customer requirement. You need to customize. How do you manage the scope? How do you manage the schedule? How do you manage the risk? Should be decided on the basis of several parameters, and some of them they have actually listed in tailoring consideration. In case of Agile, it is called as a time box schedule. I spoke about it at length. The end date or the day go live date or sprint scrum end date is already known there, and you are going to fit the work which fits there. It is not all about capture the requirement and calculate the time. It is other way around. See how much you can deliver in 28 days, 21 days, and so on and so forth. It need to be on demand or pull. I spoke at length about it. It is on demand or pull type of schedule based on, on the fly decisions are taken. Sometimes the project could be part of the program and might have the interdependencies. It means, output of your project could be input to some other project. So in that situation, you need to be little more vigilant and take care of that. It's not, maybe for example, a small code written into your thing is used into your project only after 3 weeks. But at the end of first week, some other team is going to ask for that. If that is what is going to happen, you need to manage inter project dependencies as well. Sometimes hybrid life cycle is used. I told you, adaptive and predictive combined. And I gave you an example: hardware, network, civil construction. These type of things are much better to be done using the predictive life cycle. And there are so many things which are like the software development, rollouts, and all that thing are better to be done in adaptive. So combination of both is very common. And in case of agile, the project manager need to understand the whole life cycle, and you need to apply it onto the project. You should give appropriate training to the staff and all that. Those are the things there. Plan schedule management, as I told you, is a simple how process. When I say how process, what do you mean? It's a how process.
Strategy.
Strategy, exactly. Who was this? Hello?
Raj.
Raj, correct. It's strategy. Basically, it is not telling. So, Raj, it means this is not going to tell you what is the schedule. It is saying how are you going to do the scheduling, correct? So, those type of things are there, and that is created in something called as a schedule management plan. Tools and technique and all inputs are very common, so you will never miss that. EF and OPA you need to read as a part of your study there. Expert judgment, analyzing the data, alternative analysis, will it be useful to create an intelligent Excel spreadsheet or using MS Project? MS Project comes at a price tag, but it will bring in the productivity. Now, does it mean that for a very small project you will buy MS Project license? Probably no. Level of details for scheduling with progressive elaboration. See, this is trying to say that, you need to decide that maybe you will say that the current week planning, current week plan, I will go ahead and do it at a half day level, which means on Monday morning, I will do this. Monday, second half, I will do this. Thursday, Tuesday morning, I will do Tuesday. The remaining weeks in the month, except for the current month, I will do it at a day level. On this Monday, I will do this. Tuesday, I will do it. And all the activities which are in the next month onward, I will do it at a week level. I will do it at a week level. That is what he is trying to say. What level of detail you want to do it. And remember, this right balance need to be kept on levels of detail and manageability. Anyone like to guess what does it mean? Are these two parameters manageable? Level of details and manageability? And how are they related? Yes, Swatiji? Shishir? How is that related? Yes, if you do our level of planning, each hour level of planning. Okay, it's a very detailed plan, Shishir, correct?
Yes.
Now, the problem with that, it doesn't become very manageable.
Yes.
एक तो तेरे को प्लान करना पड़ेगा, then you'll have to tell each of the resource. If you have 10 people, you'll have to tell कि अब next hour में तेरे को ये करना है. Shishir story doesn't end there. At the end of every hour, they will have to come back and tell you saying, मैंने अभी तक किया है, sir, आगे क्या करूं? Not very brilliant idea, correct? Doing it at 4 hour level for the current week could be good. So that every half day they will come back and report what they have done, and you will assign it for the current week. I mean, next week वाला करोगे तो problem हो जाएगा. When you go into the next week, make it at a 4 hour level. Now that's what is the manageability versus details. Now, if so what is happening? The more and more you try to go into detail, manageability becomes difficult. Correct, Shishir?
Yes. Yes.
Now, just to make it manageable, Maria actually said कि यार ये सब बीमारी कहाँ रखते हैं, पूरा week level ही कर लेते हैं ना. We will do it at week level. I mean, don't worry hourly reporting. Don't work half day. Don't work about even the every day. Week level. What would you compromise, Maria, in such scenario? If you plan the things for week level only. Yes, Swati?
We might end up losing the track ki what happened day wise. We might lose
Exactly.
the track of achievable goal.
Exactly. So Friday evening आपको पता चलेगा कि ये this thing has gone beyond my control, correct? Because Monday you assigned it, Swati, and Friday evening he was going to come back and say कि मैडम मेरा ना 60% ही हो गया, or maybe he comes back and say he did it and then he said हाँ documentation भी करना था क्या स्वाति, मेरे को तो मालूम नहीं था. Now you
Right.
have lost all the thing. Now if you are doing it at a day level, you will get a recovery chance, correct?
Yeah.
Are you then getting this details versus manageability ka contrast?
Yes.
If you are going too much of a detail, it becomes unmanageable. If you try to make it extremely, extremely, easy to manageable, the details will get lost. He is saying do the right balance.
Right balance.
Correct?
Yes.
Very funny question. Do you think in the relationships, level of details and manageability are important? Very funny, ना? इसके अभी अभी कभी और बात करेंगे. So, how much control versus how much let go. Those are the balances. So that's what this is there, about the scheduling. Meetings are obviously required for you to do the scheduling and output schedule management plan. And as, Raj was saying, strategy. So look at it. Schedule management plan is component of the project management plan. It will show how will all the schedule activity from developing, maintaining the, what methodology you will use and tools to use. Did you notice it is never saying what is the schedule? What is the, during agile life cycle, what is the length of each release and each sprint? It's a strategy, Raj, correct?
Yes.
Units of measure, accuracy planned, control threshold. Control thresholds means, if it exceeds by so much, which is the next escalation it should go. Those are called as control threshold, skipping the timeline by 1 day, no need to report to the boss. But if it is more than 3 days, you need to report to the boss. Now, does it mean that project manager also every 3 days will go ahead and report to the sponsor? No. For project manager, the threshold could be at a week level. So those are there. Then this EVM I will explain in the cost chapter called as earned value management, and any reporting formats. Remember, we are not generating report, Raj, yet. We are saying what are the formats. Do you find any advantage of writing the formats in the plan itself? Any advantage? Writing the format of the reports in the plan and then getting that plan approved?
Maybe to decide in advance that what all details we would require in a
Correct.
report.
Did you notice, Swati, that sometimes it so happens that when this is vague, once you go into the execution, first month delivery happens, you send the first month of report, and then customer comes back and says, Swati, मेरे को ना ऐसा भी एक अच्छा report चाहिए. I want this in the histogram format. ये format. And they turn up too creative, in between. Now
Yeah.
that too creativity of that could trouble you. It could change cost for your project, Swati. Are you getting this?
Yeah. Cost and
You
time,
cost
efforts.
and time, efforts. होता है ना ऐसा, very often it happens. Did you
Yeah.
notice that? Now, including report format into the schedule management plan, what does it mean? Is that you are sending that plan are baselined, correct? Correct, Swati?
Yeah.
Plans are baselined. Now, if someone comes with and use his creativity कि नहीं इसको Gantt chart format में भी दिखा, इसको pie chart में भी दिखा, you will have a right to say that if boss पहले फिर CR raise करो, you need to change the schedule management plan. And that CR necessarily means you'll have to consider what's the impact of it. Are you getting now the difference between product scope and project scope?
Yeah.
ये सब क्या है ये? Is this product scope or project scope?
Changing the report format should be in project, I
In the
believe.
project scope.
Yeah.
Rahul, you unmuted. want to say
Yes,
something?
yes, it's a project. It's a project.
Project scope. And देखा Rahul, it makes you bleed sometimes. Did you notice that?
Yes.
बहुत परेशानी होती है. Did you realize? I mean, people start getting creative about different report formats later. If that was done right in the planning, things would have been much easier. Correct?
Right.
So that's what is output here. So that was, simple first process, strategy process. Define activities, which happens to be the next one there. The define the activities there. As I told you, create WBS was breaking the scope into work packages. This process is going to break the work package into activity. There is a good slide which will explain this, graphically for your benefit. Activities then can be used to estimate. Remember, at a work package level, can you go ahead and do an estimate? Probably no. You break it into activity. For each activity, then you will say that for this I will need so many people, so many days, so much of a effort. For this activity I will need so much of a raw material, so many days, itna. So you would be able to do it at an activity level. Doing it at a work package level quite often is difficult. For example, how much will user login functionality take? No idea. But if you say a user login functionality means install this operating system, install all that thing, do this testing, and then estimate and add all that thing, you might realize, nah, user login will take so much. So these level of detailing and estimation will be possible only when you break it at the activity level. And that's why it is at the work package level. It is not done at the work package level, and this process is meant for that. The output of these are activity list, activity attributes, and milestone list. These are the things there. So let's try to see. Inputs are well known to all of us. Decomposition is the common tool. Yesterday I spoke, and here is the decomposition for create WBS. See, look at it here. It says that create WBS takes the scope and breaks it into multiple work packages. This was the prior one. I mean, here, if you look at this, I am referring to that first animation here, create WBS. So create WBS means what you do? Take the scope and break into work packages. Now comes to the next one. Decomposition for define activities is taking one work package and breaking it into multiple activities. See here, yeah. This is the next step of it. So that's what is define activity. That's how. And at the activity level, then you will say that how many days are required, what is the raw material, what is the infrastructure required, how many resources are required. All that thing you'll do at an activity level. Doing it at a work package level is, quite often not very accurate. Rolling wave planning, very clearly what they are trying to say here, this rolling wave planning. What they are trying to say is that the work packages on which you are going to work in the next sprint or next timeline, do break it into the activities. The work packages which you are going to deliver, 1 month down the line, 3 months down the line, don't try to break them into activity on day one itself, because your knowledge may not be enough. Changes could occur and so many things could happen. So makes no sense. You go ahead and take only those work packages on which you are going to work right now and break it into activities. Don't try to do it for everything. That's what is rolling wave planning. Meetings are obviously required for planning. Output is called as activity list. So for one work package, what are the activities? So list of activities will be there. In adaptive life cycle, then this will be done with progressive elaboration. Activities would also help team member to make the next thing, which is basically about the estimation and all that. There is another output called as activity attributes. So basically, like there was WBS and WBS dictionary, there is an activity and activity attributes. Activity attributes are more details about each activity. For example, a unique ID given to that. Did you notice, Shishir, when you add a new task, automatically that ID gets created in MS Project, correct?
Yes.
That's what is this WBS ID, because this is part of a work package. So that whole hierarchy, you remember 1.1 and all that. What is the WBS for which this is the activity? So WBS ID. Then activity label or the name, description. When will they be completed? Which means plan finish date. Descriptions, predecessor activities, successor activity. You remember yesterday we spoke about these two terms,
Yes.
predecessor and successor. Could there be multiple successor to an activity?
Yes.
Yes.
Dependencies can be.
Yeah. Could there be multiple predecessors to activity?
Yes.
Possible.
Both the things are possible. So it is many to many relationship there. Logical relationship, we'll see this. What does it mean? That, that word yesterday I spoke, but I need to explain. FSFF and SSSF. So these four is logical relationship. We'll understand, on a slide. It will be much easier. Now, leads and lags. That's very important concept there. And leads and lag being such an important concept there, I need to take a mental attendance of all the people that they are in the classroom, not only in the Zoom call, but mind-wise. So Kuldeep, Maria, Pavan, you are there
Here.
mentally. Thanks. Rahul, Raj, Shishir,
Yes.
Yeah.
Swati and Vishakha.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, remember this concept called as a leads and lags. What is leads and lag? Leads and lags is an intentional time gap or intentional overlap between the activities. Now, what does it mean? As you would be knowing that, when there is a civil construction work, when you go ahead and put a slab for ground floor, this is the activity called as slab for ground floor. And then there is a successor activity here is called as tiles for the terrace. Tiles for terrace. And this is linked like this. Are you getting this link?
Yeah.
Is it compulsory link?
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
What does it mean? It is compulsory links.
First we have to cast the slab, and then after the tile flooring will be done.
You cannot, start putting the tiles on the thing and then बोलेंगे कि जम जाएगा तब मैं करूंगा. Correct, Rahul?
Oh, yes.
You can't do. I mean, it's foolish. हवा में थोड़े ही tiles लगाओगे तुम. So that's
Right.
what it, and that's where Rahul, are you getting? This is called as mandatory dependency.
Yes.
Correct? There was a community center. There was a community center. There was a plot, a rectangular plot somewhere inside the town, and there was a plan to go ahead and build a small room here. On the room, there were tiles to be put. This was the room, and some landscaping was required to be done here. This is that project. Okay.
Right.
Now here, for example, the slab for the ground floor and tiles. That is the dependency called as mandatory dependency. Got it, Rahul and everyone?
Yes.
There is another thing, landscaping. The guy or the contractor or the project manager who was going to do the landscaping made the plan. He said that unless the construction activity gets completed, I will not start doing the landscaping. I will do it only after that. Construction was going to take, let's say, 45 days. Okay. And then another 15 days for landscaping. So going to take total 60 days. When the 60 days plan was actually submitted to mayor said that कि यार नहीं है इसके पहले I want to do the inauguration. The chief minister is coming and I need to do it there. So he asked that why are you trying to do this landscaping only after civil construction is done? The project manager said that कि sir ये problem होता है. इसमें problem क्या होगा? Because if I start putting the landscaping along with this, these people, will bring the material, the steel, the cement, and they will dump somewhere into the open space. I would have put some plant, some lawn there, खराब कर देंगे वो लोग पूरा. So ना सत्यानाश होगा. मेरे को ये 15 दिन का काम रिवर करना पड़ेगा. If I try to do it along with them, I appreciate that my work has no dependency there, but I would like to prefer doing it only after civil construction. Are you getting this? Dependency is an optional dependency.
Discretionary.
This is called as discretionary. Raj, correct, exactly. This is called as discretionary. If Raj, mayor says that कि यार 60 days में नहीं होगा राज, ये तू side by side चालू कर ना तो 45 plus 15 नहीं होगा. Along with 45, 15 days वाला काम हो जाएगा. Maybe what you do is that start it in the last 15 days. So in 45 days, our center will be ready along with the landscape. Correct, Raj? Can that
Yes.
save the time?
Yes, it does.
Will get completed in 45 days. ये देखा ना पहला ऐसा था देख ये. This is how it was there. Correct? Correct, Raj?
Yes, yes.
And now it is like this. 45 days में हुआ. This was 45 and then 15. So it was taking 60 days. You got this, friends?
Yes.
Huh? Now, Shishir, this was possible about it. Now, the same trick in these 45 days of construction, there was one more requirement. 45 days, why do you need? That's what the mayor told. He said कि construction वगैरह sir वो पहले तो 7 दिन में हो जाएगा मेरा. You know, I will go ahead and put the slab also within 20 days. Within 20 days, I will put the slab, and after that, I will start doing the tiles onto the top. First thing he tried to push him, say that, yaar, why are you waiting? See, so cooperative Raj project manager. I told him to do this landscaping along with this civil construction. He agreed happily. तू भी थोड़ा टाइल्स वाला पहले कर लेना, बाद में कर लेंगे हम लोग कंस्ट्रक्शन. Is it possible? It's not possible.
No, not possible.
Possible, Mohan, correct? And that's why it is called as mandatory dependency. You cannot compromise it. Whatever mayor ने chief minister भी बोलेगा तो नहीं होने वाला है ये. That's mandatory dependency. Are you getting this, friends?
Yes.
Now, those people who are familiar about this civil, not civil engineering, a basic of it, you would be knowing that once the slab is put, you cannot go ahead and start working on to the next floor on the next morning. You need to allow it to get set for 21 days. You know that?
Yes.
Yes.
That's called as curing. They call it as curing. You need to get it, set there. You need to put water on that and all that thing. So 21 days it takes. Now this 21 days in the planning thing is here is slab and here is the tile. There is a 21 days of gap here. This 21 days of gap is called as lag. It's a lag. You need to keep lag between these two activities. It's an intentional gap between two tasks. That's called as a lag. Are you getting this, friends?
Yeah.
Intentional gap.
It's an intentional gap which is to be kept because, see, if you don't do that, Swati, what will happen in simple thing, you'll have to create a dummy activity called as query and show it as 21. वो आपको 3 activity दिखाना पड़ेगा. So rather than that, they say that there is a 21 days of lag, which वो तो activity है, it is a waiting activity, frankly speaking, in civil construction, it's not waiting. You need to put the water and all that. But there are a few things. For example, when you order for some hardware, there is always a procurement lead time. You know that, na? Procurement lead time, what do you do, Swati? You wait. It is that vendor who is working onto that, correct?
Right.
Correct. So rather than showing a dummy activity called as a wait for the hardware, show it as a lag. That's called as a lag. Now, what happens in some situation opposite to this is somewhere you are going to do things in parallel like this. This is called as lead. Lead means you are not keeping a gap. You are trying to create an intentional overlap between the task. Example for that is that if there was a team which was saying that you want to go ahead and do some development. Here is the development. And then there were user manuals. User manuals. Correct, friends? Is that right? Is this sequence sounding right? User manual should be created after your development is completed.
Yeah.
Looks logical. Very often, Swati, you don't get that luxury. The sponsor said कि यार इतने दिन हमें ये this itself will take 60 days, and then you are saying another 10 days for that 70 days I don't have. I want to do it faster. Swati, what can you do there? And what he says is that I know that before development you can't start doing user manual along with that, but what you do is that try to do it as late as possible. Maybe start it here. So do it with a lag. He says that don't start it on the 61st day. Try to start it on the maybe 50th day.
With
So
some
that
overlap. Yeah.
there is an overlap you are getting. This overlap is called as lead. Lead and lag are opposite of each other. Lag means there is an intentional gap. Lead means there is an intentional overlap, which is very commonly used for several things. We people use it. Don't even think about the thing. For example, very often I say that if you watch your, I'm just saying this because that's how people see that your mother's doing the daily cooking thing. Did you notice they using leads and
So,
lags?
yes.
Leads and lag commonly use करना पड़ता है kitchen में, correct? When the cooker, is cooking probably the dal and rice, you are, side by side doing something. It's a lead you are doing, correct?
Yeah.
Those are very common things. There is nothing, and that is this called as leads and lags. So it needs some explanation. That's why, I took a little bit stop there. Resources required for the activity. There are any dates. Sometimes, these activities should be completed on this date and all that. There are constraints, assumptions, and all that. Place basically, for each of the activity, all other details are called as activity attributes. And then there is a third type of activity, the third output, the second type of activity called as milestones. Milestones are said to be the activity with zero duration. They are in its own, they are not going to take any time. However, they are important for the tracking. So, if there are whatever 100 tasks in the thing, you might go ahead and break it into 8 milestones. So 8 of those are the milestones. For senior management, we will report it only at that 8 level and not report it at 100 because it will be too much of a details for them. So 8 milestones. So milestones are for that particular purpose. Very often there is a contractual binding on the milestone. Once you complete that milestone, so much money will be done, or you should send the report once at the end of that. So all those contractual bindings are very common there and very suitable for senior management reporting. Sometimes change request and all that. Now comes sequence activity. So in the sequence activity, what we do, activities are sequenced logically in this particular process. It is to identify and document which activities need to be done after which means sequential, or which are the activities which could be done along with, which means the parallel. So there are two ways, either do it one after the other or parallel or with overlap. So all those possibilities are handled in sequence activity. It will help you to optimize the project schedule, keeping the constraint in mind. As I was always saying that if there are 10 activities, one after the other, and each of them is going to take 5 days. And if there are, such 10 activities, does it mean that it will take 50 days? Probably no. Some of the activities could be done in parallel, so it might take less than 50 days. Are you getting this concept, friends?
Yeah.
And that's what he's trying to say. It will help you to optimize the project schedule. If you change the sequence, the end date will actually start going ahead or getting preponed as well. Project schedule network diagram is created. I showed it to you. That whole diagram with arrows and all that is called as project schedule network diagram. All activities except for the first one and last one typically should be have predecessor as well as successor. Can someone explain me what does this bullet point means?
So the first activity, of course, उसका कोई predecessor नहीं होगा and last का कोई successor नहीं होगा.
Correct. उसका कोई successor नहीं होगा.
Have
Now, Maria, when you are correct. So one of the thing Maria and Shishir I also teach is something called as a Microsoft project. So when I teach Microsoft project, there is, however, Maria, this is not always true because there could be multiple starting points for a project. Correct, Maria?
Yes, that's right.
So there are multiple activities starting activity. Now all of them will not have a predecessor. Similarly, there could be multiple terminal activities for a project. Correct? So all of them may not have the successor. Correct?
Right.
Now, what we teach in the MS project, and I'm sure Shishir, because you are using it, you will be knowing, you then end up creating two dummy things called as a project start and project end. And all the starting activities link the project start as a predecessor. And all the terminal activities link them as a, put a successor as project end. Are you getting this? And this bullet point is speaking about that. Are you getting this, Maria?
Yeah.
So if they ask a question saying that can project have only one starting point, the answer is no, it cannot.
No.
Not
Yeah.
necessary. Not necessary. Okay, so be careful before we go ahead and agree to this bullet point. Sometimes there is a lead time before or after an activity. These are called as leads and lags. I explained this at length to you. These are all the inputs well known to us.
So, Sanjay, one more thing.
Yes, Pawan.
Question. So, how about like in the exam? Like, do we need to consider this last point or not? All the activities for first and last must be linked to some other activities as predecessor and successor. That's what Maria just said, right?
Now,
So,
if they say they should be, wala to Pawan answer will be that it should be. It is a best practice there, correct?
Right.
But if question comes saying that in a project schedule network diagram, what out of this is true? What out of these two is true? Pawan, ये ऐसा होता है. I mean, they are very tricky exams. So look at two sentences, Pawan. It says that a project schedule network diagram will have only one activity as the last activity,
Mhm.
or it is a best practice that it should have a last activity. Now the answer is it is a best practice,
Best
not
practice.
necessarily that. Are you getting this?
Yes.
है ना? इंग्लिश में चेंज हो गया ना पवन. इट इज क्रिएटिंग अ प्रॉब्लम जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ दैट थिंग. Unless you know this concept, you will very easily get confused between them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Correct? है ना पवन? Correct?
Yes. Got it.
That's the reason for which I, explained it little in detail. So leads and lags, we spoke about it. These are all the inputs and all that thing. This is that interesting thing called as a leads and lags. Okay. Now look at it here. There are multiple dependencies. We'll be seeing that into another graph there. This is called as a precedence diagramming method. Remember the name of the tool is precedence diagramming method. And the name of output is called as project schedule network diagram. This is the name of the output, project schedule network diagram, and the name of the tool is called as precedence diagramming method. By using precedence diagramming method, you end up creating project schedule network diagram. That's the thing there. Now, Pawan, did you notice that this activity C has multiple arrows coming into it? Correct.
Yes.
Now, these type of activities are called as the लिखा क्या यहाँ पे? This is called as path convergence. Path convergence. Are you getting this concept? Which means there are multiple paths coming into this. It's basically not a road, it's a junction where multiple roads are coming. Path conversion. On the other hand, if you look at B, this is called as a path diversion. Path diversion, which is from there are more than one arrow actually are getting originated. Is that making sense, friends?
Yes. Yes.
So
So
what
is
was?
it,
Yes,
What
Maria.
are the arrows that we are coming in, that is called as convergence, and whether if the path is going diverted, then
It
it
is
is called
called as
diversion.
diversion. Correct, exactly. Yes, Maria, you are saying something?
is it also, in other words, an activity that has multiple predecessors,
Are
convergent,
path convergence.
right? And then if the multiple successors, then path divergent.
पवन, देखा तू इंग्लिश में कैसा क्वेश्चन किया जा सकता है?
Yeah.
Did you notice what Maria said exactly could be the question? Isn't
Right.
it? This diagram is very easily understood. But Maria said na, ki she made it into a theory saying that, if there is an activity which has multiple paths, could be called as, and then they will give you 4 options. Obviously, 2 of them will be path convergence, path diversions, and maybe something, some two silly more options there. You need to. So
सर
good,
आप
Maria.
कन्वर्जेंस बोल रहे हैं कन्वर्जन बोल रहे हैं?
Conversions. So,
कन्वर्जेंस, हाँ ठीक है सर.
converge, multiple thing gets converged together, and diversions, which means getting diverted there. Now, the reason for which this word is being said also is important, Pawan. What they are trying to say, you as a project manager, you need to be keeping more close eye onto activity C and B.
Yep.
Why?
This is the place where you see like several dependencies are in line with it.
Correct. Are you getting this, friends? What he's saying? Did you notice that in some activities, Maria, did you notice that sometimes what happens is that, there was some activity, and you always, for ages together, were believing that, the getting resource for this particular activity is always a nightmare. Last 10 projects, you have always faced the problem in getting the resource or the person for that. Correct, Maria? Understood?
Yeah.
So what happens is that तुम वो बस स्टॉप पे खड़ी रह के ना आप वो रिसोर्स के तरफ ही देखते बैठती हो. You keep on making the follow up with them and all that thing. So you do only that thing because you are extremely focused about that. Now, on a given project, that guy comes to you, and the moment he comes to you, he said कि मैडम मेरे को मशीन चाहिए ना चालू करने के लिए, I need that tool, and then you realize कि यार tool ही नहीं आया इसका. Does this happen?
Yeah.
This is the problem about path convergence. Are you getting it?
Hmm.
If you don't keep a close eye onto that, you would probably end up getting something which was very rare, but which is very common, is not available. So बंदा बाद में एक हफ्ता बैठे रहते हैं वहां पे. Are you getting this point, friends?
Yeah.
That's the importance of path curvature. Similarly, path divergence is also important because this guy might go ahead and stop two routes. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the reason for which this theory is actually introduced, path convergence and path divergence there. This is the way in which there are three ways here. This is first way, this is the second way, and this is the third way of
Sorry,
dependency.
what was the line, sir? Your voice dropped there. 3 ways of?
These are the three ways of dependency determination.
Right.
Okay. Now, what are those three? Let's try to see. First way of doing is called as this. Activity A, remember all over, the thing which is onto the left side is shown to be the predecessor. Activity is a predecessor in all the thing, and successor is B here, successor. Now look at it here, what they are doing. They are calculating end date finish of A and using it for calculating start of successor, which is B. That's why it is called as finish to start. Finish of predecessor is used to calculate start of the successor, FS. Is this clear?
Yeah.
Typically, when they don't say anything which is the dependency, it is always FS. When I say testing is dependent on the development, I means it's a finish to start. Development's end will be used to calculate the testing start date. That is finish to start. It's a default relationship. When nothing is said, it is always finish to start, correct? Yes, is that clear?
Yes.
Yes.
So, Kuldeep, when will you start doing the exam preparation?
सर मैं तो वो ऐसा चल रहा है मेरा तो.
Now, are you getting? If Kuldeep would have told me Senate कि सर आपका ये 8 जून को खत्म हो जाने दो, दूसरे दिन मैं चालू कर दूंगा. If he says that, if Kuldeep says that, I will do it at the end of the training. He is doing FS. Did you realize? F finish to start. Now, if tomorrow, due to whatever reasons here, it ends up getting 14th, the Kuldeep's project will start on 15th, or other activity will start on 15th, correct? So FS may successor start is calculated on the basis of finish of the predecessor. Now, once this is there, remaining things will understand very easily. Here, start to start. Based on start of activity, they don't wait for calculating how many days A is going to take. It is at the day on which A starts, B will automatically start. Now, the example of this could be, writing the test cases and making the test environment ready. The moment development, the design documents are ready, developers start working onto that. Side by side, I will start writing the test cases. So here it could be development, and here it could be the writing test cases. They start together, start to start. Both these activities are going to start together. That could be the example start to start when you are connecting them together. This one is finish to finish, which means the day on which development is going to get over, I am going to say that testing should, the test environment should be ready on that day. Development gets over here, test environment should be there. So I will back calculate. Remember, here I am not going to calculate the finish. I am going to take the finish from development finish and then calculate the start date for that. And that's why it is called as finish to finish. Finish of one predecessor is matched as the finish of the successor, and then the start of the successor is calculated by subtracting. It is finish minus duration will be used as the formula there. So that's the way in which this particular thing, dependency FF, works. Is that understood, friends? Is this understood?
Yeah.
And the last one is called as, because there are two combination, one happens to be the start of this will end up, will be calculated for finish for. But frankly speaking, ये थोड़ा theoretical है, friends. I don't like this to be used, because if I want to actually go ahead and use it, what I will do, I will call B as a predecessor. and A as a successor, so it will then become A, FS बन जाएगा वो पूरा. Are you getting this point? ये just left side में दिखा रहा है वो, otherwise it's wrong. शिशिर, you got this point? ए को सामने में रहे
Yes.
वो फिनिश स्टार्ट हो जाता है वो, फिर व्हाई डू यू यूज इट?
Mm-hmm.
Because there are towards F and S, and there are two position first rank, तो वो FS FF वो चार कॉम्बिनेशन बन रहा है ना, इसके लिए that has become, it's very theoretical. I don't think in real life ever you would be using. Whenever you want to use this thing, you will go ahead and call B as a predecessor and A as a successor. So obviously it will become finish to start. So that's the way in which you can look at that. Correct, friends?
But Sanjay, I don't see like this is being used in Agile world.
This whole thing, Pawan, is irrelevant. The precedence diagramming method, Pawan, this prior one, this itself is irrelevant in Agile. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I was about to ask how we derive this diagram.
We don't, because we decide what is to be done tomorrow, day after tomorrow. Every morning I decide what I am going to do today. So I don't do this long-term plan. Pawan, this becomes relevant if your total plan is for 6 months. Then this becomes, because on that particular day, on the fifth month, I will need the test environment, that you need to plan right in the beginning. That's why you use this method. So this is useful only for waterfall model, not for agile. Correct,
Right.
Pawan? And now let me quickly jump to that slide, and where so I'm just going very fast because this slide we have already seen it here. Yes, Pawan,
Yeah.
read this.
Team selects method as critical path method or agile. Okay, so
Are
either
you
we
getting?
have to,
This is the answer to your question, correct?
yes, yes.
If you use agile, you don't do this.
But we need to understand it. Yeah, got it.
PMP exam में तो कुछ भी आएगा, Pawan. Another thing, Pawan, one more thing. I mean, forget about PMP exam, Pawan. What I'm trying to say is that, it is good to say that we are going to switch to agile fully, but agile, it's not. Waterfall will remain, by the way.
Hmm.
Are you getting this? See, long-term resource planning and all that thing, you'll have to do it in critical path method.
Okay.
You can't go ahead and establish a data center in the agile method. What does it mean, Pawan? Is that in the morning project manager comes and says that Aaj, let us do a Windows server, and tomorrow he comes and says no, let's do a Linux server. It doesn't work like that. That
Yeah.
whole thing will have to be planned. Yeah, you'll have to give the order that will come there, installation, commissioning, and all that thing. So there is no other way than to continue with the critical path. Correct?
Yep.
So, it's dream situation to say that the whole world is moving quickly towards agile is the reality. Correct?
True. Yeah.
Did you notice construction of the bridges?
Yeah.
Construction of bridges. उसमें कैसा है रे agile?
Yeah. That doesn't work.
नहीं, but part of that has come, Pawan. Did you notice that in the old days, the slab for the bridge
Labs,
was
yeah.
getting constructed on the site?
Now we are getting ready-made bricks.
You get ready-made thing. You get it ready-made, and actually it's one
Precast.
night, Pawan. 12 in the midnight, one crane will come and it will put that whole slab onto the thing. Next morning वो हो गया वो पूरा.
Right.
But
हाँ
can
तो
you
सर प्रीकास्ट लेके आते हैं
exactly?
Precast.
But Kuldeep, can you do the pillar and beam also in agile? No, you cannot. वो तेरे को waterfall में ही करना पड़ेगा.
राइट
So what I'm trying to say, I mean, Pawan, you got my point. That basically you cannot switch to agile fully, but the whole world is extremely fast moving towards agile. That's the reality. There is no doubt about it. Correct?
Yeah. Got it.
और
So
वी
that's
कुड से वेज आर बीइंग एक्सप्लोर्ड टू मूव टू अजाइल
होगा ही, वो सब जगह होता है, सब जगह वैसा होता है. करेक्ट?
नहीं
I
सर
don't know whether I told you this example,
थ्योरेटिकली तो
Kuldeep.
होता है
Huh?
बट वो माइंडसेट नहीं हुआ चेंज तो पीपल कैन इजीली गेट इनटू प्रेडिक्टिव माइंडसेट
Exactly.
वो शुरू कर देते हैं प्रेडिक्टिव वापस से
प्रिडिक्टिव में एक्सपर्ट लोगों को कंफर्ट रहता है. You know that, ना?
राइट
There was a recent report saying agile is dying because people are not changing. So they are taking agile cadences and iteration, but they're staying waterfall.
Actually, so that's very funny, isn't it? So
Yeah,
that might sound a little extreme thing, saying agile is dying, but yes, you are right. I mean, how much is being said about agile, utna truth nahi ho sakta. It's not
correct.
there.
Yeah.
But anyway, the whole world will eventually move into agile. In a lot of things will move there. There's no doubt. आपको मालूम है क्या? I mean, last week only I did it, and that's where I will tell you is that आजकल घर में टाइल्स जो बिठाते हैं ना, इट्स अ हाफ डे ऑफ वर्क. यू नो दैट 1,000 स्क्वायर फीट का फ्लैट का टाइलिंग हाफ डे में होता है आजकल. You know that those wooden tiles come together, they are quickly assembled. The whole room का tiles हो जाता है उसमें. Did you notice that? Have you heard about it?
Yeah, vinyling.
हाँ, विनाइल तो आई मीन मिनट्स वाली बात है. बट वुडन वाला जो है ना, इट इज नॉट minutes, it is some hours. Basically, it is not that they are going to align it and all that. There is a slot there. So you need to just align them together and the whole tiling is done. What is that? In civil construction, we are moving into agile.
Mm.
है ना? So that's how it typically works there. So good.
Nice, sir. I mean, your example is nice, but I don't think it's an agile because it is totally different uh,
It's not fully agile, correct?
material,
Absolutely.
right?
Correct.
Different material. Yeah.
It's a different
But I know you
material.
are trying to stress on the agile importance or how
हाँ,
fast agile is spreading.
करेक्ट. अब
But
इसमें
maybe
क्या होता है
another.
कुलदीप, अगर मेरे को इफ आई वांट टू डू सिरेमिक टाइल, तो मेरे को 15 दिन पहले ऑर्डर दे दे. दैट टाइम आई नीड टू डिसाइड कि कौन सा कलर मैं लगाऊंगा, करेक्ट. बट ये वुडन टाइल है तो प्रायर इवनिंग आई विल गो टू द शॉप एंड चेक ऑल द थिंग एंड सेड कल ये लगे इंस्टॉल कर दे मेरे यहाँ पे, करेक्ट. सो इट्स पॉसिबल.
Definitely, definitely.
तो थोड़ा अजाइल है वो. सो देयर इज नथिंग कॉल्ड एज अजाइल इज डाइंग एज वेल, बट at the same time, even waterfall is not going to die. So they will remain, for
They will go
concurrently
hand
for
in
a
hand.
long. Correct. For a long. So this is that schedule network diagram is what we are trying to say. And here we are there. So those four things there. This is one method of, doing the dependency. The second one is mandatory and discretionary. We spoke about this at length. Remember, why are we calling mandatory and discretionary is because down the line, you are for sure, as my friend Swati said, that, when you go ahead and calculate the end date, it is hardly customer agrees to that date. You need to do some adjustment. Mandatory and discretionary dependencies, if you are marked into that schedule diagram, it becomes easier for you to do those adjustments. Why, Shishir? Why? You can't do anything about mandatory dependencies.
Yeah.
So, tera MS project, Shishir, I'm sure if you are using it, it's very common that they might have at least sometimes 100 tasks.
Yes.
Very common. Abhi 100 tasks में से where can I do the adjustment? How do you come to know? When you have put all the predecessors, if you put one more custom field called as mandatory or discretionary there, you will realize that out of all those 100, for those 100 tasks, there could be, whatever, if minimum 99 dependencies will be there, to linking all that thing. Now, out of these 99 arrows, Shishir, if you have marks in it, there are only 8 which are discretionary. What will happen is that, see, as usual, Shishir, you go ahead and calculate that end date and go and give it to the customer, and customer है नहीं, ये इतने दिन तो नहीं चलेगा, Shishir, correct?
Correct.
The next thing you need to say, इसमें से क्या कर सकता हूँ? Where can I take special approval and do it? These are only 8 places. Correct? Remaining 91 places are mandatory. I can't compromise them. I need to do it in that sequence only. 8 are the places where. So if you would have marked it here, you will immediately present it to the customer saying there itself, saying that, sir, I appreciate तुमको ये September में नहीं चलेगा, you want it in July, but these are 8 things. Give me approvals for these things. Can I go ahead and start develop the infrastructure without your purchase order? If you say yes, I will do that. This is one. So you can compromise those things. Discretionary depends. Discretionary dependency is also called as a soft logic, and mandatory dependency is called as hard logic. Hard logic cannot be changed. Soft logic could be with an approval. But remember, every compromise in soft logic is going to add to first thing is called as plus risk, which means it adds the risk. And in most of the situation, plus cost. What does it mean?
end up increasing the cost.
It
to
might increase the
this.
cost. And
Yeah.
remember, Maria, was that Swati?
Yeah.
Swati, you said end up, but I said might. Did you notice the difference?
Yeah. Yeah.
It is possible that in some situation you break the discretionary dividend, it may not add your cost.
Yeah.
Parallel कर लिया कुछ हुआ भी, I mean, because you are thinking that if this purchase order doesn't come, then I will go ahead and lose the money there. But अगर आ गया तो फिर क्या? I mean, then it's okay. You would end up saving the time and you would have not incurred the cost. Correct?
Yeah.
Similarly, the risk, so it might. It is not necessarily it will, but it might. So it's
Hmm.
there as long as you are knowing that it's okay. You take that special approval and keep it there. So plus risk, which means such, breaking this dependency. By the way, what does it mean? ये देख, A to B to C. You are trying to make A to B to C. Correct?
Yes.
This was possible because of this was discretionary dependency.
dependency.
This is mandatory.
Mandatory.
ये आपने तोड़ दिया, तो A to B was always there. A also got connected to C. This is possible only if this was discretionary. If it was not there, it was not coming. Are you getting this?
Yes.
Revealing the next name, because in your batch, what is happening? The questions and discussions are interesting. So they are coming across few things which will be coming down the line. So let me explain it to you. This is called as fast tracking. This is called as fast tracking. You are trying to fast track the project. What does fast track means? You are trying to run two things in parallel, which earlier you were going to do sequentially. Earlier it was A to B to C. Now it is A to B and A to C. So this is called as fast tracking. What you have done here is called as fast tracking. Is that clear?
Yeah.
What is the advantage of fast tracking?
Save time.
Save the time. What is the problem of fast tracking?
Might increase risk and cost.
Fast. That's the thing. Very clear. आपके 2-3 मार्क हो गए पक्के, स्वाति, don't worry.
Thank you.
There are some questions there. Now, coming back to that, this is meant for that. The third type of dependency is called as external and internal. What do you think? How is it useful to mark certain dependencies which are external and internal? Marking them separately. How is that useful, Rahul? Niranjan is silent. Niranjan, hopefully you are with us on this. हाँ, विशाखा मैडम, आज शांत हो आप. What happened? All fine?
Sunday.
Yes, Sanjay sir. The only thing is I got my mom's small thing to be taken care of, so I was into that. Sorry, but I was
Oh,
listening.
never mind. Take care. That's also equally important.
No, I'm there. I'm there.
Good. So yes, why? What's the use of marking external and internal dependency separately?
Is it because maybe external we can't really control or manage as much as
Correct. Becomes
internal?
difficult to control. And what
Yeah,
could happen with internal?
we can control
You
or
can.
manage them internally.
Exactly. If there is a resource which is going to come onto your project, the resource is, there are two places where the resources are coming, Maria. One was with external recruitment,
Yeah,
and one was from the, some other project
Other
within your
projects.
company.
yeah.
Now, obviously, see all over Maria, वो जो स्वाति ने बोला ना वो होने ही वाला है. The end date you calculate and customer said no. हर जगह पर आपको एडजस्टमेंट करना पड़ेगा. Now, when you are trying to do it, you will try to speak to that internal project manager first, है ना?
Yeah.
And you will tell him कि यार थोड़ा एक 8 दिन पहले दे दे. If you come across any problem, tell me, मैं छोड़ दूंगी इसको. But तू दे देना मुझे. तो I mean, if you have any problem, I am there ना. I am just not going to take him anywhere. But will you try to pick up a phone and call that person who is going to join and say कि तू तेरे HR department से बात करेगा क्या?
No.
Don't. It is the, I mean, in worst case, you might do it as well. You might give him, joining bonus. I don't know. But what I am trying to say, amongst them, your control will be more on the internal dependency. So you try to always do it there. Remember, just marking the discretionary or mandatory Shishir or external, internal in the MS project, you can do it using custom fields. Is not going to solve any problem. Tools don't understand the moment you say this is a predecessor for this, it is going to do the calculation in its own. But down the line, when you are doing the adjustment, this marking will be useful for you. Are you getting, Shishir?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So this is a custom thing. Did you notice in the MS project there is no field called as mandatory, discretionary, internal, external? कुछ नहीं है वो. It is only a field called as a predecessor. याद है शिशिर?
Yeah. I mean, standard में.
And में वो
Yeah.
even you take professional any version there, you will not get it there. Now that you need to create as a custom field, and just custom field से भी कुछ नहीं होता है. Then you create a filter that which are out of these, which are my internal dependencies, and try to see that if I can do something about it, and then try to come across a date which is more agreeable to your boss and your customer. That's the purpose of these three. So these are the three type of dependencies which are used in the project. Leads and lags, we spoke about it at length. The gap, basically, procurement lead time, we call it. Do you remember? Procurement lead time, actually it's a lag. It's a project procurement lag. Lag is a intentional gap. So
Intentional
in
gap.
procurement lead time, जो word है, English word procurement lead time means a lag of it. So
लेकिन ये
don't.
वो I mean, if we consider that example,
हाँ,
हमने एक step complete किया, then we took a break. I mean, for other activity, that's we consider as lag. But
correct.
here, procurement is something, it's not dependent, right? हमको you know that okay, this is needed to be procured. तो
Correct.
वो तो advance हुआ ना. I mean,
नहीं, I am saying procurement lead time, Shishir, as place the order for server and install operating system on the server. Now these
okay.
are linked to them. Now there is a gap 20 days. पिज्जा तो नहीं है ना वो.
Okay, okay. So ordering is one
तूने ऑर्डर
activity
दे
and
दिया, दूसरे
receiving
दिन
is.
तेरे को मिलने वाला नहीं वो.
Hmm.
Correct, Shishir? So
Okay.
you need to keep that 20 days of gap there. That typically they call it as a procurement lead time, which in
Okay.
project management term, it's a lag between those two activities. Correct?
Okay.
हाँ, तो English meaning of lead and ये lead थोड़ा अलग है. So don't get confused there. Okay? So, and then there could be an overlap as well. Overlap is called as the lead, so that's called as a lead there. FSSF, we have already seen it, all that which is there. Then come project information management information system. This has come earlier. So it is amalgamation of all the systems. Shishir uses MS project. He might have some web-based system. He might be using ServiceNow. He might be using some internal web-based thing to raise the resource request. Some tool for timesheet. Yes, subsystems cut together is called as project management information system. Which is just a combination of all that thing. Is that a tool you use for doing scheduling? For doing your scheduling, do you use some of those systems?
Sorry,
Yes.
what's that?
Yes.
See, I said, Maria, said that, such a combination of all the systems which Shishir is using or you are using, Maria,
Yeah.
is called as the project management information system. It could be combination of Microsoft project, some ServiceNow, some Jira tools, some web-based tools, whatever, some Excel spreadsheet, pura pakad ke, that's called as project management information system. I am saying that for project scheduling, Maria, do you use any of these things? Of course.
Yes, yes.
Of course you will use it.
That's
Now,
why I was confused because we do
correct.
scheduling only through the same systems, right?
MS
Now,
project.
it could be
So
MS
my
project, but it could. But project management information system is not saying MS project. It says that all the systems used by the project manager to do his jobs, his
right.
project.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
frankly speaking, this question I can ask almost for any of these 49, and your answer, Maria, is going to be yes. Do you
Yeah.
use project management information system for identify risk?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you use it for estimate? Yes. Assign resource? Yes. सबके
Yes.
लिए करते हैं ना. So in fact, whole of the automated systems what you are using in your company for doing project management is called as project management information system. It's a generic term they have used there. Raj,
हाँ.
annexer में can you check this one, project management information system? Quickly control F में देख and try to read the description if we are able. And everyone else also can do it. Raj is little dear friend of me, so that's why I keep on bothering him. रात में 1 बजे देखेंगे उसको कितना समझ में आ रहा है अभी.
सर मुझे मिल गया कुलदीप.
हाँ क्या है रे, पढ़ना थोड़ा.
Project management information systems can include schedule, resource, and cost software to ensure that agreed upon response plans and their associated activities are integrated into the project alongside other project activities.
Now this is under schedule वाला description रहेगा ना.
नहीं ये सर वो 11th चैप्टर का है.
हाँ 11th वाला रिस्क वाला है, करेक्ट. Now the same project management information system will also come into annexer. There is I think X3 या कुछ annexer है.
हाँ सर
जिसमें
बेसिकली
There
वो
is
इट्स
another.
अमेलगमेशन सिस्टम जहाँ पे आप ये सब काम कर सकते हो,
हाँ
नॉलेज मैनेजमेंट कर सकते हो,
correct. वो वाला generic
scheduling कर
description
सकते
रहेगा
हो.
वहां, correct. So in annexer they have given all the descriptions there. So just see that yourself, not a big deal.
अच्छा
Output is
ये
called as project
स्केड्यूलिंग वाले
schedule.
में ठीक
हाँ
है.
yes कुलदीप.
स्केड्यूलिंग वाले में बोल रहा है ये प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम्स इंक्लूड स्केड्यूलिंग सॉफ्टवेयर दैट हैज द कैपेबिलिटी टू हेल्प plan, organize, and adjust the sequence of activities, insert the logical relationships, lead and lag values, and differentiate the different type of dependencies.
Scheduling में तो
हाँ ये
annexer
schedule.
में जाएगा तो annexer में he will say everything
हाँ अभी
because the
मिल गया सर, अभी पढ़ के बताऊंगा.
annexer में पढ़ annexer में अगर है तो
हाँ.
annexer X3 will be somewhere in 600 or onwards.
नहीं है सर, सॉरी मुझे नहीं मिला सर.
नहीं मिला क्या, ठीक है. Anyway we will see that, but go through that. Project management schedule network diagram, we spoke at length. That whole diagram there, it has the diagram which is graphically representing logical relationship. It is referred as dependencies. And in the diagram we created manually. Earlier हम लोग करते थे manually. Or using ये off नहीं है or है शायद. Or using the software by connecting all the tasks. Mandatory tasks to be completed before are called as predecessor. Task which could be done start after is called as the successor. Task with multiple predecessor is convergence. Multiple successor is called as diversion, and such activity need to be tracked closely, and since they are more prone to risk. Even Pawan very clearly said that we need to track them very closely because there are multiple things. It can stop multiple roads together, so traffic jam ho sakta hai if we don't manage these more closely. Yes. And project document update. Then comes estimate activity resources. I think this is the time. What's the time? 1 minute. Let me check. डेवलप शेड्यूल के पहले एक 5 मिनट वाला ब्रेक है ये. एक 6 minutes में we'll finish this, friends. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yes sir.
And then we'll take that interesting. I like that system of 5 minutes of washroom break. So coming back to estimate activity duration. Remember where are we now? If you look at the larger picture, you collected the requirement. You took some of the requirements, some non-functional requirement, and defined the scope and broke it into work breakdown structure WBS. Work package you broken into the activities. You sequence those activities, finish to start to finish, and all that thing. Then now you are here. You are trying to say that how much time each of the activity is going to take. And there are 4 different methods here. But there are some important things coming up here. This process estimates the time period required for completing each activity. This, along with the schedule network diagram, will help you to calculate the project end date, isn't it? I mean, that schedule network diagram, if you put the days there, you will be able to calculate the project end date there. This process and estimate resource process are done iteratively. Very important, friends. What he is trying to say, this one and this one, these two are always done hand in hand. Why? Because you said that this is going to take, let's say, if you say 40% days. Have you heard this term called as person days?
Yeah,
Are those days?
those are hours, 8 hours, whatever the business hours are per day.
So it a 40% days could be delivered within 8 days as well. Correct, Maria?
Yes, with more people.
Now this 8 is duration.
Yeah.
And the resources are 40% days. Now what is this particular thing saying? That some, first time Maria went ahead and made the thing 8 days लिख दिया यहाँ पे because she thought that मेरे को मिल जाएंगे 5 लोग. When she reached, this guy called as the resource manager, he said कि ये promise क्यों किया तूने? ये I mean I don't have so many people. I can give you at most 3 people, Maria. Now the moment she says 3 people, she will have to adjust it by saying it by 13 days. Are you getting this?
Yeah.
13 into 3, approximate 40, correct?
Mm.
Sometimes it is other way around. Sometimes, the customer said 8 days. Maria, नहीं, ऐसे नहीं चलेगा. I want to do it in 5 days only. She will go ahead and talk to the resource manager and tell him saying कि यार वो customer बहुत push कर रहा है, 8 लोग दे सकते हैं क्या? Resource manager, हाँ हाँ दे देंगे, कोई problem नहीं. Now so are you getting, these two are badly linked to each other. They need to be done together, hand in hand.
Mm.
And that's how we do it, isn't it? I mean, we need not have to read the slide for that, isn't it? Correct, friends?
Yeah, but we'll still read the slide.
We read, yeah. Now, what I'm trying to say, practically doing this is very easy. Correct, Maria?
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
we do it. Now look at
Yeah.
it here. What he is saying, along with schedule network, no, sorry. This process and estimate resource process are done iteratively. Sometimes resources need to be planned on the basis of available time. Sometimes time need to be adjusted based on the available resources. Are you getting this thing? ये
Yes.
bullet, that's what it is saying. Either do it 8 multiplied, 8, 5 multiplied by 8 is equal to 40, or do it 40 divided by, 3 is equal to whatever. You need to do those adjustments, is what it is trying to say. These estimates are made by someone who is going to perform. This is one of the thing people related question might come on this point. It says that the best estimates are created by the teams which are finally going to work on your job. Don't go ahead and call that Java expert from the IIT Mumbai, and that guy makes a brilliant estimate. Yeah, some external consultant from Singapore, uske estimate say, Maria, it's better you depend on estimates made by your own team. Why?
Mm.
Why?
Skill set.
Yeah, they would have more knowledge of the project.
And ऑन ग्राउंड वाला प्रॉब्लम क्या है, ये बेचारे को मालूम रहेगा, और सिंगापुर वाला कंसल्टेंट को नहीं मालूम रहेगा.
Yeah.
तेरे
Yeah, that's
कंपनी
where I
में
meant.
They
कि
will
उनको
give a
project के
more.
बारे में ज्यादा पता होगा कि क्या
Yeah.
situation है.
हो सकती है,
The
करेक्ट.
estimate would be more realistic with them.
More realistic, more close. And finally, most important thing, Maria, that who is going to work? That guy is not going to work.
Yeah.
These freshers, what you have recruited from whatever Terna Engineering College, वही बेचारे काम करने वाले तेरे लिए.
Yeah.
उसकी सुन, don't go. And that's what is this bullet point. Are you now realizing, Kuldeep, this could be translated into a scenario-based question?
Definitely, sir.
हर चीज को सिनेरियो में कन्वर्ट कर सकते हैं ये लोग. So this is progressively elaborated. What does it mean is that estimates in the beginning are vague. With time, those will get more accurate. All assumptions made during the estimate should be documented along with the estimate. Now, points to be considered in this is number one, law of diminishing return or number of resources. What is this law of diminishing return? It says that if you keep on increasing resources to reduce the time, there is a upper limit to that. After that, that's not going to reduce. If it was a work which was 40% days, and in the percent days, okay, 5 people, and they were going to complete in 8 days. This was that initial formula. The sponsor comes back and he said कि मैं तेरे को 6 आदमी देता हूँ. I will give you 6 people. How many days will you take? Probably 6 divided by 40. So 6.5 days. 8 की जगह 6.5 days. Now this guy became more greedy. He said कि मैं तेरे को 8 आदमी दे तुम्हारी. How many? 8 divided, so maybe 5 days. And now this guy said that I will give you 16 people, Maria. Can you do it in 2.5 days? Probably no. Because वो confusion बढ़ेगा, ऐसे नहीं होता है. I mean, this is not simply like that. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
This is that point. Law of diminishing. And incremental addition of resources reaches a point where more addition does not give same benefit. Correct है ना? That's what you are. Same thing, number of resources. Not necessarily and increasing resource will always save the time. It will save time in the beginning, but not always there. Using advanced technology should be another approach. 40% is equal to 8 multiplied by 5 or all that. Well, division is okay. For you want to do faster, put more resources, but try to use alternative technology. Try to use automation rather than doing it using certain tool. Try to change the tool. Maybe your productivity calculations itself will differ, and you need to consider that. So change different technology, change some advanced thing, and it might change the whole thing. For example, वो slabs बनाने के लिए, I mean, rather than making the slab, precast slab will save the time, isn't it? So you need to think it at appropriate time. Staff motivation, is that important while calculating the estimates?
Yes. Yes.
Very important, na? Motivated individuals could actually deliver much more than so many fleet of unmotivated people can't do that, correct? And I'm sure you would have experienced this very closely, correct?
Yes.
Appraisal time के around वगैरह थोड़ा गड़बड़ हो जाता है, estimate start going wrong, is that correct?
Mhm. Yeah.
Immediately the appraisal results are announced, productivity doesn't remain same, correct?
Correct.
And there is a thing called as a student syndrome. Student syndrome is actually a name came from the student, college going student, that when the exam gets postponed, if exam gets postponed by a month, the average score of all the students should go up, है ना?
It drops
No,
down
it drops.
Other way around.
Why does it drop?
because
Why
motivation goes down.
मजे
मूवी
लेने बैठ
देखेंगे
जाते
फिर, हाँ,
हैं।
मूवी देखेंगे, पब में जाके बैठेंगे, सब कुछ करेंगे. Obviously nothing happens. Student syndrome is that, that's a phenomenon which they said that, if there is a more time available to you, you will waste that into something which is not there. Now remember, while the name is student syndrome, it is applicable even for the working professionals. Is that right? It is applicable to your team as well, Maria.
Yeah.
Now, how do we avoid student syndrome? In the student world, they have unit tests. You know why unit tests? By the way, किसी को याद है क्या रे इसमें, इन लॉन्ग डेज ना 2 ही एग्जाम रहते थे हम लोग जब स्कूल में थे. वो हाफ ईयरली, दिवाली के पहला और फाइनल वाला 2 ही एग्जाम रहते थे.
Yeah. वही दो ही दिए.
आपका भी था क्या वैसा, मारिया?
क्वार्टरली, हमारा
वो
क्वार्टरली भी
exams
था एक.
क्वार्टरली. अभी आजकल मंथली यूनिट टेस्ट है, वीकली रहते कुछ जगह.
वीकली भी है.
वाई वीकली टेस्ट? ये स्टूडेंट सिंड्रोम के लिए. आर यू गेटिंग स्टूडेंट सिंड्रोम? बिकॉज देयर इज एन एग्जाम एट द एंड ऑफ एवरी वीक, तो स्टडी करना ही पड़ेगा. That's the advantage of that. Now, can you have unit test in your project? What is that? How does that translate?
Interim.
Yes, Raj. Interim milestones.
Yeah.
Final go live date ni interim milestones banao. It will see to it that. And by the way, Raj, this is equally applicable for working professionals. I mean, don't even think it is not applicable to working professionals, correct?
Yeah.
So that's what students syndrome. So all these things you need to make while considering the estimate. Now there are 4 type of estimations there. So let me explain it to you, which is the main key thing here. So, and then we'll actually break. Obviously, making an estimate is an expert job. Now there are 4 type of thing called as analogous estimate. I'm just flashing through 4 slides, then come back to each of them. Parametric estimate, 3-point estimate, and bottom-up estimate. I'm going back. These are the 4 type of estimates which are used. Remember, friends, in the whole of the schema here, there are 3 places where estimates are done. This is one which we are learning. Duration, how many days it takes. This is second one, how many resources are required. And here it is, how much is the total cost required. All these 3 places you need to do estimate. Here you are saying how many dollars or INR are required. Here you are saying how many percentage are required, how many servers are required, how many licenses are required. Here you are saying 8 days, 10 days, 15 days and all. The days or weeks or whatever. Estimation is common, but these are the 3 places, and these are the 4 methods which are used all over there. Is that clear, friends?
Yeah.
Now linkages also. Let's understand the linkages as well. Linkages wise, typically what happens, resources and duration. These are done hand in hand in the project always. Correct?
Yeah.
Now, once this is done using the resource estimate, the cost estimates are done.
Yeah.
Are you getting? These three are also linked to each other. है ना? Did you notice that in your company, when when you go ahead and say that so many people, so one percentage, so many laptops, so much of a license, once you do it, your finance guys must be asking you to put it into some Excel format or maybe something, some online system. Do you have something like that?
Yeah.
And वो वाला आप उनको भेजते हो, they would be saying that इसमें भेजने मारिया वो, I mean your Excel template we are not comfortable, you need to use this one, you need to send it in, correct?
Yeah.
What do you think they do after that? They put a dollar rate to each of that line item,
Yeah.
and then they the total addition. Pre-sale stage mein, if it is there, Maria, they will come back with that number and tell it to person like Shishir, who is a pre-sale guy. They will say कि 40 लाख के नीचे बिल्कुल एग्री मत करना, आगे में जितना लेके आएगा इट्स ओके, बट 40 के नीचे एक्सेप्ट मत करना. हैव यू सीन दिस डायलॉग्स? हैव यू हर्ड अबाउट दिस टाइप ऑफ थिंग्स? देयर इज अ नंबर, कट ऑफ नंबर गिवन बाय द फाइनेंस गाइज.
Threshold होता है.
हाँ, वो थ्रेशोल्ड के नीचे अलाउड नहीं है, एंड देयर आर ऑब्वियसली फ्यू थिंग्स वेयर यू नीड टू टेक एन एक्सेप्शनल अप्रूवल, तो फिर उसके नीचे जा सकते, बट नॉर्मली इट इज नॉट एनकरेज, करेक्ट? सो आर यू गेटिंग? दीज थ्री आर लिंक टू ईच अदर. Yes.
Yeah.
Coming back to this, for taking this example, I am going to take that painting example there. Okay. So, an example for, my friend, Shishir. Shishir actually, happens to be from a place called as Raipur. I, I think it's a capital city of Chhattisgarh, Shishir. Is that right?
Yes.
So it's a outskirt of Raipur. There are some areas. It's a very developing city. In last few years. So he decided to go ahead and take a farmhouse little outside, 10 kilometers away from his main residence. He took a farmhouse, or rather a house, and then he was about to paint it. So Shishir used to go there. He went there once and he inquired in that area where was some work that koi painting contractor hai I need to do the whole of the painting. I want to do paint at home. So one guy actually came up and he said कि शीशे से मैं करता हूँ मैं, तो आपका घर कहाँ पे? He said वो बाहर में कॉलोनी है ना, that colony I have my bungalow. Oh, that it's a nice thing. So he said कि let's do one thing. I will come back on the next Saturday, and next Saturday I will bring the keys for that bungalow, that I can show you the keys, and then you can open, have a look, take the measurement, and then give me the estimate. To surprising, Shishir, now I am explaining you what he did in analogous estimate. To surprise of Shishir, he said कि sir चाबी की कोई जरूरत नहीं है. Then what do you mean? You are going to break the lock? He said नहीं नहीं ऐसे नहीं करना पड़ता है sir. आप चलो तो वहां पे. Now see, this guy went ahead and took a round around that bungalow. He was not able to open the bungalow. Forget about it. Even the gate was having a lock. He didn't open it. He only took a round around the bungalow and came back and told Shishir saying that I think, sir, in 75,000 rupees, I will do it. Is it possible to make such an estimate?
होता है सर, होता है.
होता है. This is called as analogous estimate. Analogous estimate is called as top-down estimate. It is a top-down thing where not breakup is done. Overall scope is actually seen, and based on the past experience and past thing, he is able to do that. Remember, don't even think that this is only a story. In real life, analogous estimates are very commonly used all over the industry. Is it correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Just like a square foot basis.
हाँ नहीं, स्क्वायर फुट नेक्स्ट आने वाला है राहुल. वी आर गोइंग टू यूज दैट एग्जांपल आल्सो. बट राहुल ये तो आई हैव सीन वन, आई वाज इन महिंद्रास दोस डेज. सो we are going to develop a component. That component developing means we are going to develop a new vendor for that. Now Rahul, I don't know whether you know that those people who are in the small scale industry, when they come into your आप महिंद्रा टाटा वैसे ऑफिस में जब बैठते हो ना, तो those guys feel little ashamed of it. कपड़े गंदे विंदे रहते उनके. crores का टर्नओवर रहता है राहुल. लेकिन तेरे को साफ बोलेंगे वो लोग. You know those people, isn't it?
Yeah, just a small contractors.
Very small contractor. Now that guy, was invited. He came and sat there with in front of my purchase manager, and that purchase manager, that component was very small. It was hardly he was able to take in the hand. So he kept it to the drawer. He opened the drawer and gave it to that guy, and said कि ये develop करना है, आप करोगे क्या? You wouldn't believe Rahul. He actually rotated it in his hand only. थोड़ा उल्टा सीधा घुमाया नीचे ऊपर से देखा, and he come back and he said कि sir 15 रुपए per piece में कर लूंगा. Can that happen? It does happen, Rahul.
Yes.
It does happen. वो लोगों के पास they have that thing. Just see, they will actually understand what is the material, what is the processing, what is the finishing, packing cost, सब पकड़ के calculation 15 रुपए per piece. That type of calculations, those people, that's called as analogous. Analogous is used very extensively all across the industry. Is it used also in the IT industry? It could be. Don't even think that it is not used there. There are places where analogous estimates are used. This is a very fast estimation method, but obviously it is least accurate. It's not very accurate. Correct, friends?
Yeah.
It's not very accurate, very fast there. Now, Rahul, what you are saying was the next one. Next weekend, Shishir went there and he said that Abhi, this time I have brought the keys. And so you can actually have a look there. But he said that कि वो 6 बजे ना मेरे को मीटिंग है, तो आई नीड टू गो बैक एंड रीच रायपुर बाय दैट टाइम. तो एक आधे घंटे में सिर्फ तेरे को देखना है. Now look at it, what did this guy do? And that's where is the second method. It's called as parametric estimate. So Rahul, what he said, he went into that Bangalore and said that कि सर आपके इसमें 3 bedrooms है, एक hall, एक kitchen and 2 terraces. Per bedroom 15,000, per hall 20,000, per kitchen so much, per terrace so much. Total मार दिया. He said कि सर 80,000 में कर लेंगे. This is called as parametric estimate. Rahul was using an example of per square foot. ये देखा है, example भी है देख राहुल यहाँ पे.
Yes.
Okay, here this is more accurate than top-down estimate or analogous estimate. Analogous and top-down are the synonyms. That's the same word there. It is more accurate because you are counting. This also is based on the prior experience. Without prior experience, you can't do parametric estimate. But it is more accurate because you are at least counting there are 3 bedrooms. Last time he was only taking a round around the Bangalore and said कि इतने बंगले में कितना रहेगा, all that. Those were the calculations there. So parametric is more accurate. It takes little more time. Correct?
Right.
This is also very commonly used across industry, all over there. You know that? Very funny, na? Correct, Shishir?
Right.
Now, the third week. The third week he comes and he said कि आज मैं ऑफिस में काम है, तब तक I will give you the keys, whole day is with you. जो करना है calculation कर, and you finally come back and tell me the estimate. And that is where the estimation method called as bottom-up estimate comes. He went ahead, took the dimension of each room, how much is the height of the thing, slab कितना है, flooring क्या है, terrace क्या है, पूरा calculation. Then he sat with Excel spreadsheet, did a little detailed calculation. This multiplied by so much of paint, so much of brushes, so much of labor. Total mark he came back and maybe this time he said 70,000. That's called as bottom up. Bottom up is the least accurate, the most accurate method, but it takes long time because you need to do all the calculations there. Which is the place where bottom up is better? Yes, Raj?
We know the all our
Activity.
corporate term structure.
If you, Arya, you said if you, something you said, huh?
When we know all the activities.
You are able to break to that activity. That is there. Yes. Raj, you are saying something? Raj,
Yeah, the same thing. Activities.
You need to break it at activity, but when will you do it, Raj? You will do it if you have not done something ever in the past. In that situation,
Okay.
you have no other option than to do bottom. Are you getting it? See, top down or which means analogous or parametric, Maria and Raj, you cannot do if you have not done those type of projects in the past.
Yeah.
Because there is a past wisdom which has gone into that parametric or analysis. यहाँ पे past wisdom है ही नहीं तेरे पास. Now you have no other option than to do bottom up. Obviously, it will take time, but you need to see there is a project scope which is broken into the work package. Work packages were broken into activity. For each of the activity, how many are the resources? Add all that resources at activity level, at work package and scope. So you are drilling down first. Now you are going to roll it up. Roll up the cost up and you get the thing bottom up. Obviously, it's going to take time. But when you have not done something ever in the past, you will have to rely only on bottom up. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now coming back to this fourth method, there is that, so, when the children's bedroom painting was required to be done, Shishir involved his family members. His family members came and gave little funny, odd requirement to the painting contractor, saying that there should be, a Chota Bheem picture with Chutki there and, sort of a scene there and all that. वो painting winting करके चाहिए मेरे को. And then, the stars should be there on the ceiling. Now, when this was, absolutely no way, he was not knowing how to do this because his team has never done it. So what he did, he caught hold of a guy who was, somewhere from the North India in the thing, just a 24-year-old boy. This boy was part of the painting team, used to do all that thing. But whenever they were coming across any problem, the contractor used to ask him, saying, "Kya?" And this guy used to, see something on YouTube. These days, the kids are more comfortable with YouTube. They can read any solution on the YouTube and they will come back with that. You know that, isn't it? That's common generation these days.
Yes.
So that boy was known for that. He will come back with very strange. So he said कि चलो इसके पूछते because we have not done this. Bottom up करने के लिए भी कुछ नहीं है. So what do I do? He asked him, said, how many days should I go ahead and commit? Now this guy actually comes back and he said कि मेरे को थोड़ा YouTube देखने दो 5 minute. So he searched it and came back and he told saying that कि to the contractor he said कि sir 10 दिन में कर लेंगे. 10 days we'll go ahead and do this picture and all that. That was, he said, dekha maine kuch, something. Now, before going ahead and committing it to Shishir, the contractor thought that let us check it with some senior people as well. He asked with those some senior people in the team, saying that, what do you think? How many days? He said, what did that boy said? He said 10 days. He said, sir, तुमको उसकी सुननी है तो सुनो. मैं आपको बोलता हूँ, this is risky. So he said, what do you mean? 32 days, sir. 32 days के नीचे मत लो. Last time I got the similar order there and we got into so much of a trouble that, वो paint का color combination नहीं जमता. I mean, it becomes a nightmare, sir. Don't take it. 32 days. This was very funny, thing. Now, he was very difficult situation. Should he commit 10 days or 32 days and all that thing? Remember, this is more of a story. In real life, this estimation called as a 3-point estimate believes on three numbers. It wears three hats. One hat is called as optimistic hat. This is called as optimistic estimate, which means everything is going to go fine. That's what you think. 32 is called as pessimistic estimate, which means you are always thinking everything could go wrong. There is a third number and that's called as the most likely. It's called as most likely, which means don't be very optimistic, don't be very pessimistic and take a number. In most of the situation, this will obviously somewhere in between. So maybe 16 days. These three numbers you need to actually take. And then there are two ways to calculate the final estimate. Okay, the final estimate by something called as triangular distribution. Listen to this, these are little technical words. Triangular distribution estimate is pessimistic plus optimistic plus most likely divided by 3. So 10 plus 32 plus 16, this whole thing divided by 3. So arithmetical average of these three number is called as the thing, it's called as triangular distribution. Advantage of this approach is that you are giving equal importance to pessimist view, optimistic view, and most likely. So that's the thing. However, this is not more common. More common is called as beta distribution. It's called as beta distribution. In the beta distribution, what do? They take optimistic plus pessimistic plus 4 times most likely, plus 4 multiplied by 16. Whatever it comes, they divide it by 6. Remember, on the top also you have taken 6. Pessimistic, optimistic, and 4 times. So 6 divided by 6. This will be called as beta distribution. Advantage of beta distribution, here also you are listening to optimist and pessimist view, but at the same time you are giving more importance to the most likely. Understood this, friends? Everyone understood these two methods?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now there are some more terms here. One is called as range. Range is maximum minus minimum. Here 32 minus 10, 22 is the range of this estimate. Very clear, correct?
Can you explain range again?
Yeah, pessimistic maximum wala 32 minus 10.
Pessimistic minus optimistic.
Isn't it? Maximum minus minimum wala.
Yeah.
Yes, Maria, that's 32 minus 10 is range. Range to simple time, it is subtracting. Now, what
Right.
they say, there is another thing and it is called as standard deviation. Standard deviation. Standard deviation is equal to range divided by 6. Range divided by 6 is standard deviation, which here it will be 22 by 6, bole to 7.33. I think, yes, 7.33. Remember, friends, higher the standard deviation means higher the range. Higher the range means the certainty of the task is very low. If it's a commonly done task, if the team was always doing it again and again, the standard deviation will reduce. Are you getting this?
No, I didn't get the standard deviation. Why we are dividing it by 6?
6, because that's a statistical thing. Divided by 6 because that's a statistical thing, Swati. Okay. Now, why it is important, I will tell you. If standard
सर वो
deviation,
तो 3 आएगा ना, 3 पॉइंट समथिंग, 7.33 नहीं आएगा.
अच्छा मेरा गलती हुआ क्या? हाँ 6 3 पॉइंट,
Yeah.
हाँ 3 पॉइंट कुछ आएगा बरा. हाँ या 6 3s are 3 point, हाँ 3 पॉइंट कुछ आएगा. So that, okay. Now, so coming back to that, Swati, what is the importance? It says that lower the standard deviation, which means this process is very established. Remember, if your team is again and again doing the same thing, standard deviation will reduce. Why? Because difference between optimist and pessimist will start reducing. Correct? Because you are doing it day in and day out. Correct? The difference will start reducing. Difference will start reducing. Range will reduce. Range divided by 6 will reduce. Standard deviation will reduce. Have you heard the thing people saying that in the stock market there is a standard deviation? Have you heard this?
Yeah. Not
Large
much.
cap stock, they
Yeah.
say, is a lower standard deviation. Small cap stock, higher standard deviation. What does it mean? The difference between highest and lowest is very high in small cap. In large cap, that difference is low. Standard deviation is low. What does it mean? That process is extremely established. It doesn't change too much there. That's the thing in which sometimes standard deviation could be asked there. So some questions will obviously solve, on that. So that shouldn't be a problem. Is that clear?
सर इसका पूरा जो है इसका मतलब कि what can we draw out of it?
What can we actually draw the inference? Inference is that if standard deviation is low, it means that is a established process. Now, see, Kuldeep, if practically you want to convert this into the thing. Now, when a person actually comes back and gives you something, if you say that ki, हाँ, kitna din lagega, he gives you some number. Another person comes and gives you some number. Okay. Now, with time, Kuldeep, internally you would have their reliability in the mind. Now, what do you mean by reliability? कि ये जो आदमी बोलता है ना, ये, I mean, when this guy says 10 days, it could be anything between 5 to 15. There are some people, when they say 10 days, it is anything between 5 to 15. Correct, Kuldeep?
ठीक है
Now
सर.
there is another guy. Okay. There is another guy. And when he says 10, in the past you have always seen it is always 8 to 12. If he says something, I will do it in 10 days, it will do it in 8 days or max 12 days. This guy will take 5 days, 15 days. Correct, Kuldeep?
ठीक है सर.
Okay. Now, what happens next time when it comes and when you ask them a number? This guy went ahead and said, whatever, 10 days. And this guy this time said 11 days. Kuldeep, you would realize that sometimes relying on this 11 is more safe than this 10.
Yes.
आपने देखा है सर्विस
उसका
प्रोवाइडर.
reliability ज्यादा है.
हाँ, रिलायबिलिटी का कहां से आया वर्ड? हाँ, गुड गुड गुड, वेरी ब्रिलियंट इंग्लिश वर्ड. रिलायबिलिटी क्या है? इट्स स्टैंडर्ड डिवीजन.
ओके, ठीक है.
तू जहां कपड़े सिलाने डालता है या ये टाइप के सर्विसेज, डिड यू नोटिस यू हैव दिस टाइप ऑफ थिंग्स?
हाँ, बराबर है सर.
होता है ना
उसी के
वो.
पास, नाई के पास भी जाते हैं तो वो रिलायबिलिटी कौन सा मेरा इंस्टेंस समझता है, कितनी बार मैंने उससे बाल कटाया है.
नहीं,
क्या
वो तो और
I mean,
क्वालिटी पैरामीटर हुए. आई एम
नहीं
सेइंग
नहीं,
इवन टाइमलाइन वाइज देयर इज अ स्टैंडर्ड डिविएशन फॉर एवरीथिंग. करेक्ट.
बराबर है सर.
इससे बोलूंगा तो इतने में करेगा ये पक्का. देयर आर सम वेंडर्स लाइक दैट, सम ऑफ देम. नाउ यू वुड ऑलवेज, when it comes to the reliability part of it, you will always go with the standard deviation. Now these calculations are there in our mind, Kuldeep. We don't do those calculations, isn't it? I mean, we don't go ahead and say that कि वो A to Z टेलर का standard deviation 5 है. I mean, वो if I tell it to my wife, I am sure I will have difficulty in getting the food. But there is a standard deviation, correct? Yes, is that making sense?
ठीक है सर.
So we
Yeah.
need to start from the most likely minus means optimistic pessimistic divided by 6. तो ये triangle और beta वाला, do we consider these two?
See,
Sir,
in
इनका क्या
triangular
करेंगे?
distribution, you add all 3 and divide by 3. Arithmetical average हुआ.
Like triangle वाला का is approximately 20.
हाँ, I mean, नंबर छोड़ दे, नंबर का कोई
हाँ.
फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. But if you look at it, it is taking 3 divided by 3. So it is. So what does it mean, Swati? It is saying that you are going to give importance to all the 3 views: pessimistic, optimistic, and most likely.
सर बेसिकली एवरेज हो गया ना इनका.
Equal importance to all 3 views. Correct?
So
तो
standard
basically तो
deviation हम range से निकालें और
हाँ,
we took
नहीं,
it from
ये अलग है.
any range.
These are two separate things. This is different.
Okay.
सर ये रेंज कैसे
So
कैलकुलेट करता है?
when to
Range is
consider?
what? Look at it here. Max minus mean, na? Optimistic minus
अच्छा, ठीक है.
22 is 32 minus 10. Simple. Correct? Understood, Swati? Now look at it. What's the
थोड़ा
difference in
confusion
beta?
है. थोड़ा confusion है कि triangle और beta कब consider करना है and when we consider standard deviation.
Correct. Now, standard deviation is a separate thing. If it comes into the question, you will have to, take that particular number there. These two, triangular or beta, this is called as a 3-point estimate. It's a 3-point estimate.
Okay.
3-point estimate. Now, there are 2 ways to calculate 3-point estimate. One, which is not very common, triangular distribution, where you take arithmetical average. What does it mean, Swati? Is that it says that you are giving equal importance to all. That senior guy, that junior boy, and whatever are your views. Equal view weightage deke, you are going with that. Not a bad idea. See, Swati, if you listen to only optimistic, your project will overrun.
Yes.
You getting this? If you
Yes.
listen only to the pessimistic, you may not get that project, Swati. Are you getting it?
True.
Pessimistic का एक advantage है. Your project will never overrun.
Yes.
But project मिलेगा ही नहीं तुमको. Correct? Now what you need to do? You need to listen to all 3 views. Most likely, optimistic, pessimistic. In triangular distribution, you are giving equal importance to all of them.
Right.
But statistically, Swati, they said that don't do it. Actually, beta distribution is more wise. What it is trying to say, give importance to optimist view, pessimist view, but give 4 times importance to the most likely. Because that is most likely. Na? Now, if you take 4 multiplied by something, plus 1 plus 1, 4 plus 1 plus 1, divided by 6, here you can't divide it by 3, correct?
Correct.
So, now this will be, this beta distribution will be more skewed towards most likely. You are getting this? more skewed toward the most likely, so that see, it is double-edged sword, Swati. Either there are chances that your project will overrun, or the other chances are you may not get the project. You need to take a right balance there, na? So that you don't lose the project. At the same time, the number you give, you should be able to fulfill it as well. That's the advantage of beta distribution. So this is 3-point estimate. These are some additional statistical things sometimes appeared in some papers. So that's where I thought that I will, check, I will just tell it to you there.
Oh, okay. Right. Makes sense.
Now, what is happening is that if we continue beyond this particular slide, तो मेरा ना standard deviation कम हो जाएगा, because I need to go ahead and give the breaks at appropriate time. So मेरा standard deviation खराब हो रहा है कुलदीप अभी. So let me not take that risk. What's the time now? I think can we
अभी सीधा कॉफी ब्रेक
take one break? Coffee break ही ले लेते हैं. Raj, Kuldeep, what do you say?
हाँ सर, 11:45 में मिलते हैं.
हाँ चलेगा. So we'll take one break at 11:45. So but it is now what 11:22. Timer 23 मिनट का डालूं क्या फिर?
Yes, sir,
22-23 मिनट का टाइमर डाल देता हूं मैं, and then we'll continue beyond that. Okay?
ठीक है सर.
Yeah, चलो. Okay, thanks.